What's going on, everybody? David here. So I shot a video yesterday. I'm going to show you a clip of that video, and then we're going to do some Q&A. So some frequently asked questions. So let's go ahead and get started with the video. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the PPP program. We're starting to hear some different stuff coming out. You can call them scandals if you want, but there's different information that's been coming out about the PPP program loans and who's been getting them and all that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first off, on this channel, we talk about personal finance for travelers. If that sounds like something interesting to you, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the little bell notification so you can get future updates on my videos. All right, so this is going to be a quick video. I just want to go over something that happened on the 19th, so on Friday. So on Friday, Washington Post put out an article basically saying that Steve Mnuchin and the SBA, so the Treasury and the SBA, they're going to be releasing information when it comes to who got PPP loans. And the reason why this is news is because Steve Mnuchin didn't want to give out any of that information prior to Friday. So that was interesting. He didn't want to give out the information who was getting loans. So why is this a big deal? Well, it's a big deal because it's our money. And that's the crazy part about this whole thing. Stephen Mnuchin didn't want to give out this information, but it's our money. So you should be giving us this information. So now they've come to the agreement. They're going to disclose this information, and basically they are going to go with from $150,000 in loans or more. They'll disclose those people, and those are the larger corporations. So that's really what we're interested in knowing about, like what big businesses, big companies are taking our tax dollars to get bailed out in this situation. So it will be very, very interesting to see these names come out, these companies come out. And not only that, but on Friday there was also a couple of articles that were out that were stating that there's some Congress people. There were 4 Congress people, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, that their family received PPP loans. So maybe not directly them. I think there was only one politician where he had a business and he received this PPP money. But the others, it was family. So either husband, wife, that kind of stuff. One of the Congress people, Congresswoman Smith, her husband was an executive with the restaurant company, and they returned the money. But other than that, the other 3, they still have the money. Now, I think it's a real bad look. I think they're probably going to have to return that money because it just doesn't look good, especially if they're Congress people. They're going to be running for re-election, so it just doesn't look good. You probably want to return that. It'll probably be a better deal to return it and and live to fight another day. But anyway, that's the situation that came out too, and we might see more. And I won't even say might. We will see more politicians that are going to come up on these PPP loan lists that hopefully we'll be able to see in the near future. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that especially when you have some politicians right now that are very, very reluctant to move forward with another stimulus package, and some of these politicians are actually benefiting from these same stimulus packages. So I just thought that was something worth talking about. So pretty interesting to see. I mean, so we have the Small Business Administration giving out loans. It looks like was giving out loans to some major corporations. And so that's all going to come out. And on top of that, you might see some more politicians come up when it comes to this money going out. So this is interesting. I thought it was pretty interesting why Steve Mnuchin was really trying to hold back and not give out this information. And I think the reason is because some of these corporations are really going to be embarrassed that they are taking this Small Business Administration money when you have these small mom and pop places that are really struggling, and some of them are going out of business. So it will be interesting to see what happens with that. So let's go ahead and get to the questions. So I've taken 4 questions. Basically, if I look at my comments, I read all my comments. And I might not answer every comment, but I read every comment. And so I always keep a mental note of, okay, this question is getting asked over and over and over again. And so I'm going to go ahead and go over these questions. Now, they're basic questions. And the main reason why I'm going over them is because this is information that you should know. You should definitely know this information. And if you do not know this information, I will hopefully clear it up for you today. So the first question is, I'm on SSI, do I get a second stimulus check? So I've heard this from people who are on SSI, Social Security, SSDI. They've asked this question. And the first thing that I'm going to say is there is no second stimulus check as of right now. Okay, so I don't want people to think there is a second stimulus check. Now, do we think one is coming? Some of us do. I tend to believe that we'll get a second stimulus check, but that's no guarantee. And I try to say that in every video that I put out. If I'm ever talking about stimulus checks, I always like to say, hey, we don't know if this is going to happen, but because of these things, I think it's more likely than not to happen. So as of right now, there's no second stimulus check. And we do not know who's going to qualify for a second stimulus check. So the only thing that we have at this point that's been approved but hasn't been approved by the Senate, the House approved the HEROES Act. They sent it over to the Senate. It's been sitting in the Senate for the last month. So in the HEROES Act, yes, there was a stimulus check in that HEROES Act, $1,200 stimulus check. And if you're on SSI, you qualify. If you're on SSDI, you qualify. If you're on Social Security, you qualify. So everyone who qualified for the last stimulus check qualified for this stimulus check. And if you're a dependent, you qualified for the stimulus check. But that's in the HEROES Act. Now, the Senate looks like they don't want to do anything with the HEROES Act. So that means that whole stimulus check is null and void at this point. And the Senate, if they want to come up with another stimulus check, they can come up with one and then decide who qualifies and who doesn't. So that's what we're looking at right now, unless the Senate decides to go with the HEROES Act, which they could go with parts of it. They don't have to go with the whole thing. So they could go with parts of it and say, okay, yeah, we'll keep the stimulus checks, but we're going to take out this, we're going to take out that. But we don't know what's going to happen with the Senate. So we're going to have to wait for that. Okay, and second question, how much is the second stimulus check, or how much would the second stimulus check be? And that's another thing that we don't know. We have no idea. We just know what was passed in the HEROES Act, and that was $1,200. That's the only thing that's been talked about as far as been approved at this point, approved by the House and gone over to the Senate and sat there. We do have proposals out there. There are other proposals. People are talking about $2,000 per month proposal until the crisis ends, or $2,000 per month until the end of 2020. But we don't have any real concrete information when it comes to that. So I don't want you guys to get your hopes up. Like I said, I'm in the position where I think, and the president has already kind of mentioned as far as more stimulus and a second stimulus payment and all that kind of stuff. He's mentioned that he's open to that, and he's trying to negotiate that right now. But that is not a guarantee. So we don't know what's going on when it comes down to it. We don't know how much it would be. And so at this point, we just kind of have to wait to see where things go. Okay. And that's why you need to subscribe to the channel, because anytime information comes out about stimulus checks, I'm going to be here letting you guys know as soon as the Senate decides to start their formal negotiations. I will let you know, and I'll let you know what they're talking about. So the next question here is, will enhanced unemployment expire on July 31st? And so the answer to that is yes, it will expire on July 31st in its current state. So with the $600 per week, that will expire. Now, the Senate and the president, and they've been talking about this, and they do want to continue with enhanced unemployment. However, drop it down to maybe $250 to $300. So basically right now, the way it works is you apply for unemployment with your state. Your state will give you a certain amount of money. And then in addition to that, you get an extra $600 per week. And so there have been some issues. People have had some issues with that. Some politicians have had some issues with that because they say that some people are making more on unemployment than they were making in their regular job. And so that's why they want to modify this enhanced unemployment. But it looks like we will still have some type of enhanced unemployment. It just won't be that same $600 per week amount. All right, next question here, our last question. When will we see another stimulus check? Okay, so just going back to what I was saying earlier, at this point, we don't know if we're getting a second stimulus check. All right. We do know that there is a second stimulus package. So let's talk a little bit about that. So they've already indicated that there will be a second stimulus package. There are a few senators, conservative senators, that say that we're not going to sign off on any more spending. But that's only a few. That doesn't mean that it's not going to get done. You have the majority leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell. He is open to another stimulus package, one more stimulus package. The White House is open to another stimulus package, and we know the House of Representatives is open to another stimulus package. So it looks like it will get done. The matter of when, we don't know exactly, but let's kind of look at the timeline here. So we know that the Senate will be going on recess on July 3rd, and they won't come back until July 20th, and they won't be back in session, really in session, until July 21st. So we're looking at late July. That's when they'll start their formal negotiations. And from that point, they have only 10 days to get things done, really. They have, because on that 31st, July 31st, that's when enhanced unemployment will expire. So something needs to be done prior to that, so people can still get enhanced unemployment. So if they still want to do enhanced unemployment, they're going to try to get something done before the 31st, even if it's like I said, the $250 or $300 per week thing. So we know that. So let's just say they wait till the last minute, because politicians like to do that. And they give them a timeline. They're going to wait till the last hour before they approve something. So let's say they wait until July 31st. It goes ahead and gets signed off by the president on July 31st. And so now we're probably looking about 2 weeks out. If you were to receive a second stimulus check, it's not guaranteed, but if it is in that package, then you will probably be looking about 2 weeks out. And I think the process will be a lot faster, because they did it in the first one. So the CARES Act, they were able to get it done. So I think that will work, as far as it will be smoother. And so they might even be able to get it out in a week. We don't know. And when I say get it out, not everyone will receive their stimulus check at that time, but they could get the first round out within that first week. They already have all the information. Actually, they have more information now, because a lot of people got onto the IRS portal and they were able to put their information in, their banking information. So they even have more information than they did in the CARES Act. With the stimulus checks there. So they can go ahead and send those things out a lot faster. So we might see it within the first couple of weeks of August, if that's the case. And so I would say that whole month of August is probably when we'll see stimulus checks, if they are coming out. Okay. So hopefully that answers some of those questions. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about the questions. If you guys have any other questions, post them down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.